Hi, my name is Ellie Phillips. If you didn't guess from my shirt and the rubber behind me, I am a Crystal Palace fan. Welcome back to episode 24 of Either I View. This is a series I created and that with fellow Palace members ahead of our upcoming fixtures. This weekend we are hosting Leeds United at Selhurst Park, and today I'm joined once again with Leeds fan Dylan. How are you doing today, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. All good.
Thank you for coming back on my channel once again. It's only been 4 months since you were on last time, but you've had a bit of a rusty few weeks. You beat Forest, but then you drew to Villa, lost to Sunderland, lost to City, but you are into the next round of the FA Cup. How would you evaluate the past few months as a Leeds fan?
I think it's hard to be disappointed with the last few months as a Leeds fan. Coming into the league, when we last spoke, we weren't on the best run of form. We just started to turn things around a little bit, with a win at home to Chelsea and drawing at home to Liverpool. But since then we've had a few draws since then. We lost to Arsenal, Newcastle, and City in those games. There was a draw against Chelsea as well, away at Stamford Bridge, which was a really good point to get there as well. So it's hard to be disappointed. The last few weeks have been unfortunate. I was disappointed with the Sunderland loss. I was expecting to hopefully at least get a draw in that game, especially at home. I don't think Sunderland were too great. However, they set out to disrupt play and try and break things up. So their game plan came off in what they tried to do, and that's exactly what they came to do. And they got the 1-0 win with the only shot on target for them as well. So they'd say it's a perfect away win at Ellen Road. So it's hard to be too disappointed on the whole, though, when, we're still 15th and, the points gap's a lot closer now. I think it's 29th, about 3-4 points or something to West
Two
Ham.
points. Two
Yeah,
points to Tottenham.
2 points to Tottenham. Yeah, so that's the thing. So there's still a tiny gap to the relegation zone, but when you look at the form of teams like Tottenham and Forest, I'm still quietly confident when you look at our run of games compared to theirs. And, West Ham have started to pick up more results, and obviously we've got them in the next round of the FA Cup. But Crescencio Somerville, I think, will be missing the next few games through injury. So, that's a big miss for them, and they will struggle without him, in my opinion. So I'm still quietly confident that the come last game of the season away at West Ham that will be safe and that game will be almost meaningless. But, we've still got a few games. I think if we're talking points wise, I think 2 wins between now and the end of the season will probably be enough to do it because, that's then what, it's 37 points if we're on 31. So I think 37 to 40 points will be enough to stay in the league this year. So I'm confident, and I think it's been a good few months since we last faced each other. But when you look at where you've come from and where we've come from, we've kind of sort of done that a little bit. You've sort
Yeah.
of since that game at Ellen Road where we beat you, it's not been great for you since then.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a good win against Tottenham, but
Yeah.
everyone beats Tottenham at the minute. So, but it was good to see you beat Tottenham. I have to say, me and my friend at uni have a bet on Strand Larsen. I said he's a good player. He
Okay.
said that he's no good, and he says
Okay.
that Strand Larsen would score maximum 3 goals between now and the end of the season
He
at
scored two
Palace.
already.
Yeah, so before he
Yeah.
signed, he said he'd score 3. I said no chance. I said he would get. To be fair, I was probably a bit over ambitious, but I said in all competitions he gets 10 goals,
Oh,
which he still could. He still
it's so
could if you
good.
include Europe.
Yeah.
But I think he still might. But I keep an eye out on Palace just to see if Strand Larsen's scoring, and also I would have wanted to see him at Leeds as well. So as long as he doesn't score against us, then I'll be happy.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned how tight the table is at the moment. I think last time, if my memory serves me correct, you wasn't confident at all about staying up. Whereas 3 months on, the table is completely different. Obviously, Tottenham are in a horrendous position. West Ham, Nottingham Forest even. So, who do you think is going to be the team to go down if it's not yourselves?
I think you look at Wolves and Burnley, obviously they're nailed on. I
Yeah.
think now there's no way either one of them can come back. It's so hard because it could be any one of the three.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the form of each individual team, I think form would suggest that West Ham might get out of it. And I said from when they brought Nuno in that Nuno will keep them in the Premier League. And, you know, as much as they're still, keeping up their form and picking up results, they're still in the bottom three. So it's
Yeah.
like it's difficult to see them get out of it. And Forest have got some good players, and they've not been that bad since Pereira's come in. I thought they would have gone like that, but they haven't really done as bad as I thought they would. Um, it's hard. It's hard to look against Tottenham. When you look at Tottenham, I honestly, if they keep, even if they bring in a Sean Dyche, I don't know if he keeps them up when
Mm,
I don't think that team would respond to a manager like Sean
mm,
Dyche. Um, I mean, you look at the game last night in Europe against Madrid and Atletico Madrid, and they were terrible. Like they were terrible. I mean, Van de Ven seems to just not care anymore. He just wants to go. Half that
yeah.
team wants to leave. Um, I mean, the longer they keep Tudor for, the worse it's going to be for him, I
Yeah.
think. Um, I think one thing would be is if they do sack Tudor and bring in someone, I don't know, I know Tim Sherwood was rumoured, Sean Dyche. If they bring in somebody who's got that Premier League experience, then they might just be able to have enough to just, just
Mm.
stay up. But I want to say Tottenham, but I don't. I've said this from the beginning that there's no way Tottenham can go
Yeah.
down. Like there's just surely they don't go down. But
Yeah.
that's the magic of the Premier League is it's
Really.
no one's safe. You know,
Yeah. I,
so I
I,
think it's between Forest and Tottenham though.
Okay. I was speaking to a Tottenham fan last week, and he was saying that no team is too big to go down, which is true. That you would never expect Tottenham Hotspur to be playing in the Championship, but you just never know. And like you mentioned, even if they did bring in a Premier League experienced manager, it's the players at the end of the day. The players don't want to be there, and they're not playing for the badge. And that's what you need. It's all about the attitude and how the players are on the pitch. At the end of the day, you can bring in whoever you want. But if the players aren't putting it in 100%, you're not going to do anything. And I think that is the issue they're having at the moment.
I think you're so right with that in that it's clear to see they've got a lot of egos in that team, and a lot of them know that if they go down, they're going to get moves away anyway. So they're
Yeah,
not too bothered. It's not the same jeopardy as a team like a Leeds. If they go down, a lot of the players might struggle to get moves to the Premier League clubs. A lot of those players at Spurs will get moves to Premier League clubs
yeah,
or abroad. So there's not too much jeopardy in it for them
yeah.
per se. So I think that's probably where the risk factor comes in from a Spurs perspective, in that they don't they really there's no risk to them. They don't care. So
But
that's
that's
probably
sad
the only
though.
thing. It's sad. It's sad, from a fan perspective, to know that your
Yeah,
team just can't really be asked, and you know there's no jeopardy in it for them, meaning that they're not
yeah,
really that bothered and ain't going to try. The one thing that you want as a fan in your team, no matter whether you're winning or losing, as long as your players are putting in 100% every game, you
yeah,
can accept losing a game.
yeah,
But when they're not even trying, and when you can see that they're not even putting in 100%, then you think, what's the point? Like,
yeah,
what chance do you stand? So I mean, I know they've got Wolves, or sorry, they've got Forest in a few weeks after Liverpool, which will be a massive game. And to be honest, if Forest win that game, then Spurs are probably in trouble, I think,
yeah,
if they do win that game. And I know Leeds, we've got to go to Spurs as well. But like you say, when we last spoke, I wasn't that confident about staying up. Whereas now, I look at the team lineups and I look at the positions that we're in.
Mm,
I think, Daniel Farke's done an incredible job to get us to the position that we are in now and, to put us in the position of being, 15th for a newly promoted side is a
yeah,
good season. That we can't argue against it. And like you said, no team's too big to go down. Leeds, we went down in 2004 after being in the Champions League, like not only a few years prior, and being a big club in the Premier League. So,
yeah,
we know more than anyone that no one's too big to go down. You've been down, Newcastle have gone down.
yeah,
So I think, I keep seeing Spurs fans say we're not going down, but the form table would suggest otherwise. I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy. Tudor's only been there for 4 games and
That's
it's like
just
he's been there
stupid.
for ages.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It is crazy. But I think we're in a good position now, Leeds. If we can finish 15th, even if we finish 17th and get to an FA Cup quarter final, or even if we beat West Ham and get to a semi-final at Wembley, you know, I'll I'll be over the moon. If we stay up and get to a semi-final, I think that's a massive success for us. And I mean, you know what it's like to win at Wembley, winning an FA Cup. I
yeah.
mean, to be honest, I'm so sure that we're staying up. The only thing I can think about right now is the FA Cup. That's all I care about.
Wow.
Yeah,
And that just that proves how much of a change mentally you've had because you were so adamant you were going down, and
yeah.
now you're so confident that you're thinking about other competitions.
This is it. I think now with the position that we're in, I'm not saying we're going to win it, but we've got West Ham, and the thing that I think with that cup tie is that West Ham, by the time we play, will still be trying to stay in the league. They won't be
Yeah,
safe. I'm not saying we'll be safe, but I think we'll be one step closer. So I
yeah,
think we'll be able to afford to go for it more in the
mm,
quarters, whereas West Ham might have to rest a few players like Somerville to focus on the league.
yeah.
So I think that might help us in getting to a semi-final, which if we get to a semi-final, and I I, I don't
There on
know.
Wembley.
Well, this is it. Like I'm just thinking, get to Wembley. That's the main thing. Get to Wembley. That's my biggie. I don't know how it works if it's another draw to decide who we play in the semis
Yeah,
or not. Yeah.
it
So
is. Yeah.
if I can't remember the draws now, but if Southampton could go through, if we
You
could get
never know.
Southampton, this is it. I don't think Port Vale beat Arsenal. The thing for me would be I'm glad Liverpool got City.
Yeah,
I think
that's
they
a
want
big
if they can knock one of them out, and that's
yeah,
one big team that we don't
that we
have to
know.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So Chelsea v Southampton would probably be. I'd probably want either one of Chelsea or Southampton if we was to go to a semi.
We played Chelsea in the semis in 22 and we lost, and it was the most painful experience ever. Because it is so close, yet so far. But I saw a discussion the other day in like the Palace community, and it was like, would we rather see another small team win the FA Cup again, or a big team like City or Arsenal? And for me personally, I'd rather City or Arsenal because if a small team wins, it kind of takes the shine off of us. And like we're not the most recent small team to win the FA Cup. But on the other side, you could see it as it shows the game is evolving and more teams are more competitive. But yeah, I would still want a big team to win for my own pride because I that's the only thing we can hold on to at the moment that win at Wembley.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I get that as well. I think for me, when I look at us now, I think it's too early for us to win a big competition like that. I don't think we're
Yeah.
ready for it. I don't think we will win it. Contradicting myself, but um, I think we can get to a semi-final, and if we get to a semi-final and stay up, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get my day out at Wembley, and that's a success. It reminds me of when Aston Villa got promoted and they got to the final of the Carabao Cup, and I
Mhm.
think they lost to City in that game.
Right.
And it was a massive achievement. I think they were a newly promoted side, or they'd either been in for 1 year, but they a newly promoted side get into the Carabao Cup, and it was a good achievement for them to get to the final. And they probably weren't ready to beat a team like City.
Yeah.
But I think to just to be in this position, I think it gives a hope to teams like Palace, Leeds, teams of that ilk, that we can still compete for the major
Yeah.
trophies like your FA Cups and things like that. I mean, one of the things that baffled me, it's going off topic here, but I know Fulham played Southampton in the previous round, and
Mhm.
Fulham are a team which typical mid-table team,
Yeah.
and they rested 9 players, which kind of baffled me
That
because I
makes no
thought,
sense.
this is it. You're not going down. You're not going to get into Europe. Why not just try and go
Yeah.
as far as you can in the FA Cup and see what can happen?
Yeah.
Um, and that's something which, for me, lets down the teams at that sort of level in the FA Cup. I think you've
Mm.
got to take your chances when it comes, because, Fulham might not get a better chance to go through. You look at it, Fulham are a good team when they get playing. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think, you should, a bit like we have done a little bit. I know we've rested a few players, but we've not really had to play a decent team yet. We've
Mm.
had championship teams all the way to this point. So
Yeah.
it's a harder test against West Ham, but it's what I'm looking forward to. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed we can get the win.
It's definitely a winnable game.
Oh,
And like you
100%.
say, if your team's up for it and your fans are up for it, there's no reason why you won't put us. But we beat Fulham last time to get to Wembley, so Fulham is a team that I love in that regard. They sent us to Wembley. Um, we beat them 3-0. 3-0 at Craven Cottage. Beautiful game.
Wow.
So in the table you are 6 points behind Brighton. So it does seem to be that 15th will be at the top you can achieve. You're only 7 points behind us. And a few weeks ago we were saying that we could be in the relegation battle, but I think we've pulled away a bit now. Um, but like you say, 15th for you would be a huge success for season.
I would say so. I
Yeah.
think it's, as a newly promoted side, you can't snub your nose at coming 15th.
Yeah.
I don't know what fans expect as a newly promoted side, if you think you're going
Hmm.
to be competing higher than that. When you look at the teams that you're in and around, you mentioned Brighton, Palace,
Hmm.
you're not too far away from that. We're not going to be in that 12th to ninth position
Yeah.
like a Sunderland. Sunderland's an anomaly. I think Sunderland will drop down this next season, because
Okay.
I think they'll lose key players to their team. I think that's the difference between us and Sunderland. I think we'll maintain a lot of our team, whereas they'll lose a lot of theirs. So I think it'll be easier for us to build on our season, next year. So I think 15th is a good benchmarker to not get too excited, but know that we can progress and build on that.
Yeah.
Um, and if we can spend the next 3 years finishing from 15th to 12th, in that bracket, and just being a consolidated Premier League team, then I'll be happy
Hmm.
with that personally.
Definitely. So you mentioned John Larson earlier. Obviously, he was a January transfer for us. I'm not sure how much business you did in the window, but based on your answer you gave me in December, is there anyone different that we should be fearful of in this game?
So we only made one signing. So we brought in Facundo Buonanotte on loan from Brighton.
Okay.
So he spent the first half of the year at Chelsea. So he's meant to come to us in the summer, but he opted for a move to Chelsea, but then never really played.
Right.
So Chelsea, that loan ended, and then he made the move to us in January. However, he's been here for a while now, since January, and he's played 60 minutes. I don't think he'll play for us at all. He's not. When he's
Okay.
played, he hasn't looked great. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not been the best sign, and it's not worked out for him at Leeds,
Yeah,
unfortunately. So in keeping with players to look out for, I think, it's the typical ones. I think one that has sort of come to light a lot more since we last played is our midfield, Anton Stark. He's been really, really good for us. He's been an immense in the midfield. I mean, you probably saw his free kick goal against Villa a few weeks ago, and it was like an absolute worldie from like 40 yards out into the top corner. So he's got something special about him. Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's the obvious one in striker for us.
don't
Um,
mention that name to me. PTSD.
yeah, he's the obvious one. That was a good
Yeah.
game against you last time. But yeah, I don't think the players to look out for have particularly changed that much. We've got players in the side now that are playing a lot more consistently. Like James Justin has played a
Yeah.
lot more since we last faced you, and he's been really consistent in the back three.
Yeah.
However, I think I would hope that Jacobiol will come back into the team. Whether that means Joe Rodon drops out the side or James Justin, I'm not too sure because Daniel Farke seems to like Joe Rodon,
Yeah.
and I don't know how consistent he's been playing for us, but like there was a crazy stat where he played 100 consecutive games for us, like in the league and playoff game, 100 consecutive league and playoff games
Oh my
for us.
God.
Yeah, so Fark really, really likes Joe Rodon.
He must be super fit as well.
Yeah, he's rarely injured.
Yeah.
So he's not been at his best recently, which is why I would maybe be inclined to bring in a Jacobiol who joined us in the summer, but when we've seen him play, I think for me he's the best centre back that we've got. Um, and there's been rumours that Liverpool want him in the summer.
Mm.
So I think we need to sort of keep him on side and keep him playing to sort of stop him
He's
being
fun.
tempted away. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would play Jacobiol and probably drop Joe Rodon and maybe have to end that streak of playing games. But he yeah, it's been solid so far. I'm very happy with the team and the players. I think, like I say, the best one for me is Anton Stack. He's my favourite. Gabriel Goodmanson at left back as well. Has had a good few weeks and got a goal and assist against Norwich in the playoff in the not playoff in the FA Cup as well. So I think that'll be ones to look out for. So there is potential though. Dominic Calvert-Lewin I think might be injured.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, there was a small doubt because he didn't feature against Norwich, and there was
Okay.
because there was a doubt of a potential injury, so he may be out for the game. However, I wouldn't be too disappointed with that because he's not been at his best anyway
Oh, I
last
don't
few
say
weeks.
that.
Well,
He's
he's
got a hat trick now.
He's not scored for a while, so he's due a goal. But if he doesn't play, but Lucas Mecha has been in good form for us. So when he plays, he don't play much, but he's quite clinical in front of goal, and he offers us something different as well. So I wouldn't be too opposed at Mecha coming in. So I'm excited to see what team we do go for. I'd like us to go
Mm.
back to playing a striker of two up front because we've kind of opted to play with a one up front and maybe like a 3-4-3 or like Brendan Aronson as like a second striker. I like us when we play two strikers as a front two. So
Mm.
I'd like us to go back to that if we can, and we saw it come off really well when we played you last time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like us to go back to that if we're gonna play with the two strikers.
Yeah. Going back to your point about Liverpool wanting one of your players, I can't remember who you said, but yeah, I think that's one of the worst parts about supporting a small team. That the bigger teams can take your players so easy, and like we saw it in the summer last year, where Liverpool wanted matchdays. Obviously, he stayed till January, but then Man City took him, and Eze left, and in recent years, Elise and Zaha. It does feel like we are a selling club. and maybe it is just the way of the game, but it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things for us as we come from being a team that's newly promoted and trying to adapt and become a Premier League side that we're going to have to settle for being a club that develops players and sells them on for larger fees, a bit like
Yeah,
a Brighton, like you say, a bit like a Palace,
yeah,
um, and like Brentford have done as well. So I'm not too disappointed. I mean, I would like to keep Beal if we can past the summer because I think he'll be a stalwart in our defence in years to come. But if Liverpool make a massive offer because he only signed in summer, so we'll get some decent money for him. So if
yeah,
Liverpool are willing to make a decent offer for him that we can't refuse, then we can reinvest that back into the squad and get someone in. But preferably we can try and hold on to him because I don't think there'll be many that leave. If they
yeah,
do, I don't think they'll be going to teams higher up the league. It'll be either to the Championship or
yeah,
moving level across because there's a few players that in our team that I don't think are not necessarily not good enough, but I just don't think they're going to fit in this new
mhm,
system that we play.
yeah,
We've got Joel Pirou, who's a striker, but he's very championship coded. He's not
mhm,
great for the Premier League, and I think he'll probably go to a championship club. We've got Willie Gnonto, who's not really had much of a look in this season,
yeah,
and hasn't been his best, who could move away and move back to Italy. And Altanaka in midfield, who I really liked last year in the Championship. However, again, he's not started a game for us in the league in a long while.
mhm,
So I think he'll be wanting to look potentially for a move away to get regular minutes elsewhere.
yeah.
So there'll be a few players leaving. However, I don't think there'll be many moving up to teams higher up the league.
Yeah, and I think we're in a bit of an opposite situation. I'm a little bit scared how our team's gonna look next year. Obviously, the likes of Adam Walton and Danny Nunes, they are a lot better than mid-table teams. And if we're not in Europe, we offer them nothing. So it's a bit scary of what could happen in the summer. But hopefully we will still be in Europe and we'll be in the Europa League after winning the Conference League. Um, but who are you fearful to play from our team?
I think from your team, it's hard to say. I think Adam Wharton's obviously a massive player for you, and I think for us, I know how important our midfield is. Um, and so when you look at Adam Wharton, he reminds me a bit like, Elliot Anderson, where
Yeah.
he just controls everything in the midfield. And I think he probably goes to the World Cup potentially this year.
Do you think
So
Elliot or Walton?
I would start Elliot Anderson,
Oh,
but I would
okay,
take both. I would take
okay.
both. I would take them both and Declan Rice. It depends though if you want to play. I think Rice and Elliot Anderson together for me.
Mm,
And then I think Wharton is a good backup to either one of those
mm,
in that team. So I think they're probably three of the best defensive midfielders that England has to offer. I think
yeah,
you could play either an Anderson or Wharton though. You
yeah,
could toss a coin. I think the one thing that in Wharton's favour, sorry, is that he's not in a relegation fight.
yeah,
So that might come in his favour
yeah.
when deciding who starts in the England team.
Mm,
But I've been impressed with Anderson when he has played for England
yeah,
in the last few games. But like looking at your team, I think Wharton for me is like the massive one. He does bring a lot of your play together from
yeah.
when I've seen you play. He's a
Did you see
joke.
the Tottenham game?
Yeah, I
Because it's a joke.
it was too good. Like
Yeah,
for me, again, obviously Strand Larsen's another one. I think given how much we really wanted him, I think it's quite massive. I think he will score probably. Um, and
original.
then yeah, and then Sarr as well had another good
Yeah,
game. I really really like him.
yeah.
Probably one of my favourite attackers in that sort of mid-table bottom half of the Premier League for me
Mm,
personally. But that's just a few players that you can look at and think they can change the game and affect
yeah.
it in the game, especially at home as well for you guys. I think one of the things that'll be important to see is who scores the first goal.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that'll be the massive one for me. If we can, what we've seen a lot from us is if we can get into half time or even, get to 60, 70 minutes and be level, then, our fitness and substitutions can then entail us then go for it a little bit more. And
Yeah,
then you tend to see us score late on. However, if we do score early on, then you tend to see us get one, two, three, four, like we did when we played you at home. So
but
it's one of them. But I think we struggle against teams that sit back and defend against us because we struggle to break
yeah,
them down. So I think playing a team like yourselves might benefit us a little bit more because I don't think you're going to play like Sunderland did and
mm,
just time waste
yeah,
and break play up constantly. I think you'll want to play a little bit of football as well. So I
yeah.
think that might encourage both teams to go for it a little bit more.
I hope so. Because I
Yeah.
don't like it when they just sit back and let the other team play that. You want to see them go for it and actually fight for the points. But you mentioned it, so I guess we'll speak about it. Um, the 4-1 victory at Ellen Road. It was in December when my team was literally falling apart, so thanks very much for adding to that. Um, I think I turned the game off in like the 70th minute. When that third goal went in, I was like, nope, I've seen enough. What was you there?
At that game, I wasn't there, but I did watch that game on TV, and I genuinely, because at the time you was the best away team
Yeah,
in the league,
yeah,
and I wasn't massively confident. I remember us. I mean, I remember us talking, and you said about Eddie and Ketia probably playing, and I remember thinking, Eddie and Ketia could score against us, and you wasn't too sure, but I
how
think.
wrong was I?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. Um, but I don't think that game, I think what went wrong for that game is you made so many changes to the team. I don't think Glasner really appreciated or respected us that
Mm-hmm.
much in that I
Yeah,
don't think he expected us to come at you as well as we did and play
yeah,
like we did. And I think we surprised you. So I
yeah.
don't think he'll make that same mistake again, is what I would say.
You better not.
Yes, so I think if he's more pragmatic and, probably shows us the respect that we probably deserve, I
Yeah,
think you'll probably come off a lot better. But again, I think the team that you played wasn't your best team.
yeah.
So that of course comes into account when you consider the level of manner of scoring and performance in that game. Um, I can't remember
I,
who scored for you.
uh, I was just gonna say, the player that scored was Tristan Devaney,
Oh
and
yeah.
he hasn't even played this year. I don't
Oh
think.
wow.
But I was just thinking, I don't think Sarah was. I think he was at AFCON during that time, so he wasn't
Yeah.
even available. So we do have a massively different squad to the last time we faced you, and we most definitely should not be losing 4-1, but I
No.
guess only time will tell. Um, what is your prediction for the match?
I think it'll be difficult. I don't think it'll be as one-sided as the home
Yeah,
game. But then again, I wasn't confident in that game and look what
yeah,
happened.
I was
So
very
it's
confident.
yeah, that's it. I mean, when you consider games in recent years against us, they've been quite close games. They've not
Yeah,
been that 4-1 was such an anomaly. I mean, barring, when you beat us at our place when we got relegated 5-1, that
but
was
yeah,
that was, to be honest, that game relegated us that season pretty much. We just didn't look like picking up any sort of win again after that point because
yeah,
you beat us and Javi Gracia got sacked, and then we brought in Big Sam for the last 4 games of the season. So that game spelt the end of us.
yeah,
But looking at recent form and things like that, there's been a few draws. I think it could be a 1-1 potentially. We've drawn a few games recently. Um, we drew away at Villa. We should have won. We should have beat Villa, but we got a draw. We drew to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I think there's a chance. I think it will be a draw. I think it probably will be either. We do score a lot, but I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I think probably Strand Larsen probably scores personally. I think Strand Larsen scores, but I'd probably back Metcha for us if he starts. If Metcha starts, if he doesn't, then
Totally.
yeah,
If
potentially
it's,
Calvert-Lewin.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're playing tomorrow night in the Conference League, and that makes me a little bit worried because we never play well after the Conference League. Obviously, against United, did you watch United game?
yeah,
I don't think we deserve to lose,
no,
personally. And obviously that was after Europe. Um, so if we use that game as an example, maybe we've fixed our post-Europe issues because the only reason we left United was because of the red card. If that didn't happen, the game is completely different. We're 1-0 up, and United they didn't cause any issues in the first half. Um, and obviously we're down to 10 men. What did we have done? But yeah, so I think it will be difficult this weekend, but I am quietly confident we will get the win. I hope. Did you want to add something on the United game?
it's funny you mentioned like your form after playing in Europe
Yeah,
isn't that great.
yeah.
That last game where we beat you, you just played in Europe before.
Oh, there we go.
So I remember that was a problem then as well, that you wasn't
Yeah.
confident for another reason. So, I think it's very similar. I think, ironically, given, how well we've been in terms of our form, that I'm still not 100% confident going into the game.
Mm,
Um, but I think I think for you, given the position you're in, you might prioritize Europe now.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I hope
Yeah.
I would rather us win Europe, forget about the league, finish 14th, and win Conference League. I don't care where we finish in the league. It doesn't matter. We're in Europe next season. That's all that matters.
I know I said to a few people now, and given where we are in the FA Cup, I said if we win the FA Cup, I would accept being relegated. Like honestly, I would rather win the FA Cup than be in the Prem. Like I would take, if someone said you can win the FA Cup be relegated, I would say yes, like instantly, like
But
because
it's like Tottenham as well. They're saying, oh, if we win the Champions League, we don't care if we go down. You're not winning the Champions League.
yeah, there was no chance they were going to win the Champions League. Like that's just blind. I don't even know what it is. It's idiocy. It's just being a Spurs fan. But do you know what? It's been great. I mean, to support anyone but Spurs right now is genuinely one of the best things ever, because everyone always banters Spurs, and
Yeah,
people bantered Spurs when they were in a Champions League final and
yeah,
competing with Leicester, but now they're actually like at the bottom of the league. Bantering Spurs is genuinely one of the best things to
yeah.
do right now. And I don't watch Talksport, I don't listen to Talksport, but every night after Spurs, I am listening to the Talksport just to see Jason Cundy in an Ange Postecoglou mask. Like, I'm honestly,
Um,
it's the highlight of my days now. All that. Last night was one of the best nights of my life. Honestly,
what was
so
my
fun.
last name?
5-1, 5-1 Atletico Madrid against Spurs.
Holy shit.
They were
I didn't
3-0
even know
down
that.
after 15 minutes, and Kinksky, the goalkeeper, got substituted, and then for Vicario,
They
um,
sent the Josie, but oh my god.
after 15 minutes, and they
Oh
were
my.
3-0 down. Yeah, it was crazy. It was ridiculous. They were 4-0 down at half time. It
I
was
mean,
honestly, it was
you
great.
never expected them to beat Atletico Madrid, but 5-1 in the first fixture.
Well, I talk about Tottenham all the time in terms of I think they might go down and things like that, and everyone talks about Igor Tudor and how bad he's doing.
Yeah,
He's been there for 4 games,
yeah,
and I think people forget when you look at the teams that he's actually played, they're not exactly easy teams to say.
mm-hmm.
Like, they've played Arsenal. That was his first game was
Yeah,
Arsenal at,
yeah,
at home, but it was still Arsenal.
yeah,
Not many teams going to beat Arsenal this year.
no,
Okay, granted, Fulham, you think they should be beating Fulham, and
yeah,
then Palace again, you
yeah,
know, they had to 10 men from the first half, but
yeah,
you would expect better against Palace. But then Atletico Madrid, which I don't think anyone would have said at any point Atletico Madrid to lose against or
no,
Tottenham to beat Atletico Madrid away in Madrid. I don't think
never.
anyone. So you know, I mean, they've been bad. Don't get me wrong; they've been playing bad. But
Yeah,
when you look at the teams they have played, two of the four
yeah,
have been teams which you think they beat Spurs. Like they are
yeah,
levels above Spurs. That doesn't mean I think that Tudor's doing good or anything. But I do. I, I don't feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I think, he's not had the best fixtures to work with.
yeah,
It's not like he's played Leeds, Forest, Palace, Burnley, Wolves. He's played two of the best teams in Europe. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's hard to look at that. I think the next few games for them are massive. Obviously we've got Liverpool, Forest, Sunderland, Brighton, and Wolves. I think those ones will be more. If they don't win those games, then you're worried. I think
yeah.
if then you are worried. I'm just hoping that we beat them when we play them.
Well, I wish you the best in that game, but
Yeah.
not this weekend. I do not
No.
wish you any luck this weekend. But yeah, hopefully, you're still in the Prem next season, and we can film another episode next year.
Yeah.
Where can my viewers find you?
So I've got my Instagram, which is Dylan W Media _. So you can see all my analysis, ratings, reports, and things like that on there. Or you can, view them on the Finalysis app. So make sure you're downloading that. Make sure I get that in there. Yeah. And then on Twitter or X and TikTok, it's just my name, Dylan Whitbread, all one word. So you can see me on either of those, where I'm most active and posting on there.
Amazing! Be sure to give Dylan a follow, and I will see you next week for another episode of Either I Have You.